Hello to everybody watching and listening, and once more, welcome back to some more Mechabellum. This is a bit of a, an oops, I didn't in time hit record kind of thing. I played some games with Amarok, and the rest of these games, they are actually cast, and I recorded them. But the very first one that we played together that night, I didn't. I didn't have the setup ready in time, so I'm just gonna cast it as a replay. We are playing as Typhoon Spec with Ball and Arclight starting against NG Cranial, who is playing with Spider, Fortified Spec, and uses Fangs as well. On the other side of the board, Amarok is positioning aggressively, using sabers with Arclights and a Speed Spec, and his opponent, Mr. Nex, has a Lead Spec, and he is also using sabers and Arclights, but has added some crawlers. No, actually the Arclights are the unlock, the crawlers were the spawn or the drop at the start. Doesn't really matter all that much. Well, actually it's a lot better, because you'd want a level on an Arclight more than you want it on a crawler that gets killed and feeds Arclights. So since Amarok decided to play offensively, I started defensively and put my steel balls to the very back of the board. As the round begins, let's take a look at how this first round concludes. I actually don't remember everything from this game anymore, because it has been a small amount of time, and yeah, my memory is kinda garbage. I do also draw the eye of one of these Arclights, but it does not appear that I will be able to, you know, get it XP or something like that. There simply is too much of a force on the opponent's side. Even Amarok lost in the tank versus tank duel. And so we enter round 2 with a bit of a loss on our side. But nothing too major yet, of course. We have a haste module for Amarok, a skip for Nex. Haste module and speed spec, of course, going together like a horse and carriage. And the rest of the players also pick the speed spec module, and when you give me like extra speed on balls, I'm always tempted to just go after the tower no matter what. So we got that one-handed, and he adds another marksman and puts a haste on the marksman with the most XP. So that is the one that is most likely to level. It did top damage last round. I guess it was shooting for the most part steel balls and Arclights. And we do also have a mobile beacon here. I had 100 left over, so I thought, you know what, let's just go and unlock that. Meanwhile, on the other side of the board, Amarok has unlocked Phoenixes. A very good answer to Sabertooths, but the opponent does have an investment into some anti-air at least. Tower is open. The speed balls, yeah, not steel balls, speed balls, are approaching at 21 meters per second and are already on the tower. And that means this round should be going a whole lot more in my favor than the last round. On Amarok's side, he seems to have lost the ground war spectacularly, but he does have units in the air. On my side of the board, things are looking really good, as we are kind of just cleaning up the remnants of the opponent. And there is only a handful of fangs left as the last Sabertooth gets destroyed. I'm not able to save both the Phoenixes, but I am able to save the last one. And it did actually level, which is also pretty neat. Alright. That was a good attack on that tower, but of course the opponent's not going to let that happen again. Wasps for Nex. Wasps for me. Phantom Race for Cranial. And Scorpion for Amarok. Honestly, not too sure about the Scorpion. Okay, he does sell it, so it's just a decision for cash. Scorpions and Saberteeth, they kinda do similar things. Amarok investing into range on the arc lights. I think that is something that he noticed greatly improved his success ratio, simply by having longer range chaff clear by round 3. I'm dropping some crawlers in order to cover the approach, and some of these wasps are simply here in order to protect against potential flanks, like coming right up. And at this point I'm thinking maybe I can play another game of wasps and wasps and balls. The opponent, on the other hand, has invested into range on fangs and is evidently trying to stop my units this way, and it also guards him against the wasps. Plus there is a phantom ray pack over there that can definitely hurt a lot of my units very effectively. The wasps are acting as good chaff clear, or good enough-ish chaff clear, so that there is actually balls approaching the tower and getting through. However, there really isn't much of an anti-air force here, though the rest of my army does actually manage to wash over the opponent once again, and I would assume in large part thanks to the tower debuff. However, on the other side, Amarok didn't have anything against wasps, so that is kind of what demolished his army right now. Seems all my wasps got taken down, and I'm not able to deal with my opponent as much as I had hoped. But I am able to get the last marksman, and, well, for lack of anti-air, I wouldn't even have gotten to win against these phantom rays. At least they don't level. Now it's round 4, and my specialist finally comes into play. Let's see what the drops are. Missile for Amarok. Recently had its cost increased. Perfectly fair, to be honest, I think. Was too cheap at just 50 effective cost. Underground threat for me and for Cranial, and Amarok's opponent next did pick up the enhancement module, though he currently doesn't seem to have any units capable of leveling unless he already sold something. Meanwhile, here we have crawlers defensively here, but I dropped them in the flank. And this is where a bit of an oopsie happens, because I thought wasps could win against phantom rays. Spoiler alert, they don't. They just don't. Amarok's using the missile to take out the opponent's Mustangs here. And he has added a sizable amount of Mustangs himself, but Nex has already started selling out of wasps. They were kind of just the shock that got a reaction out of Amarok that I am not sure he wants to have. Speaking of reactions, my opponent has invested into Assault-Marks-Fang. So with that, after I saw that, once the round actually starts, I decided that, yeah, steel balls and wasps aren't cutting it. Fortunately, I had not yet invested into the wasps with anything other than this one additional pack. The crawlers here are supposed to be really annoying and kind of just open the flank. Steel balls did get to take out a marksman, but we'll see if anything else can happen here, or if the tower stays protected. No, in fact, the Mustangs take out the tower. Arc light level 1 taking out an assault marksman. That is actually surprising. However, the opponent's phantom rays survived, and that means they take my tower. It's kind of already too late for my opponent, but once again there is quite a sizable army coming the other direction. Now the good thing is we have leveled Mustangs that are able to deal with the phantom rays, and now there is no more anti-air. And no more anti-air means that the wasps have free reign over the battlefield, and even though my ground army gets absolutely crushed, there still is 4 wasps in the air, and they can only get debuffed once more. They also have well over 100 seconds, or had well over 100 seconds, in order to take all of these big chunky health pools out. I suppose Arclines aren't that tanky anymore. They have been nerfed. I think they used to have like, what, 15% more health than currently? Something like that? Maybe even more. And yeah, the last Saber-Tooth falls. And that is the round ever so slightly one in our favor. With 46, 45 seconds, 44 seconds on the clock. Well. Well. We'll see what happens next. Fire badgers for Cranial. Yeah, he definitely was struggling with chaff clear, so that makes sense. Sledgehammers for next. I pick up the Raiden. That seems very useful to me, and it definitely also is a good pick against fire badgers. And we'll see what Amarok picks up here in a few moments. The wasps have been sold. Amarok also picked up the fire badgers, and I decide to use a bunch more Raidens. Meanwhile, my opponent is absolutely dead set on stopping this push, and if he has to throw an explosive rhino in my way, he's evidently well capable of doing that. Interesting that Cranial did keep a bunch of wasps. Has he just not had an opportunity to sell them? Is he hoping that they can pick up a level and be sold with profit? Amarok himself has decided that sabers just don't cut it and he needs fortresses. Makes sense if you already have mustangs. Alright, I think it's about time that we started to watch a rhino exploding my front line. Oh, a missile here, okay. Now, by the way, you should pay attention to this Mustang batch. Just kinda low-key leveling down here. The steel balls, of course, get absolutely exploded, but there is a Phantom Ray well capable of dealing a good amount of damage, but is it capable of dealing with everything else? The answer is no. I bet it was this close to firing again. Now let's check in on these Mustangs. Those guys leveling, since they were this far back, it actually completely escaped from my view of the battlefield in the actual game. Like, these guys were blasting fangs left, right and center, and I didn't see it coming, or rather I didn't see it happening. This Raiden has been giving us a great tower debuff that allowed this fortress to kill the healing saber. However, I don't think there's much hope for this round, as we are kinda just lacking the DPS to kill this saber and no one has EMP yet. At the end of the day, the leveled fangs are well capable of dealing enough damage, especially under tower debuff, to take the poor Raiden out, and that's the end of this round. Really slowly just bleeding out here.